Welcome back to the Teacher's AI Cafe. I'm Kane, a teacher and a parent who wants AI to give us back our time. I share practical classroom-tested AI strategies to cut down your workload, improve your feedback and reduce stress so you can get your evenings back and be more present with your friends and family. No jargon, just actionable steps. Grab your mug. Now let's get going. Welcome back to this week's AI Update News on the 23rd of March in 2026. There's less flashy headlines this week about launches, more of once again, an incremental change over time. First off is Anthropic is now available on Android, so you can directly connect to the apps on the device. And this will obviously make it a bit more efficient for people using that particular platform. And I like using ChatGPT on my iPhone. I have great conversations with it. It's very chatty for some reason. So that obviously gives another advantage, another tool. The second change is a bit more significant for schools and workplaces. Claude can now create downloadable Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, Word documents, PDFs inside a conversation. And I was actually using that in the last week, and I'll use examples of that in Wednesday's podcast when I was creating resources. And that's a big change because I've really enjoyed that feature for a long time in ChatGPT. Had a mental blank there for the moment. So that's a nice feature. And like I said, they'll be able to export out what it does, how it creates things, and get out into those Microsoft products, which is this platform my school uses, is really handy. So obviously you can see it in previews within the actual, say, the chat window or the web page, but now you can actually then download it as well. So I guess it's a bit more like a technical improvement. In practice, like it's going to change a lot of ways people use Claude in terms of AI, particularly for staff creating those resources. Because at this stage, Claude does make better looking exports than what ChatGPT does. And like I said on Wednesday, I'm going to actually do a comparison of the two for a couple of different challenges or activities I normally use it for. Microsoft done a bit of an update. OneDrive release notes published this week. Microsoft listed Copilot, actions in the File Explorer, and OneDrive Activity Center for commercial users with a Microsoft 365 Copilot license. I don't know what sort of license we've got at my school, but yeah, we obviously get access to it. So the action includes things like summarizing documents, generating FAQs, comparing files, etc. Though I'm not a big fan of OneDrive, I do not like to use it, and I find it very frustrating compared to my iCloud, which I do prefer, much easier to manage. At this point, there's been no official OpenAI launch for mainstream users in the past week, but there's been an important report. The Verge says OpenAI is planning a desktop super app that can combine ChatGPT, Codex, and Atlas. Its browser effort. If this happens, it'll suggest a broader direction for the AI industry of fewer isolated apps, as we've got at the moment, more of a unified approach, and maybe integrating actually into operating systems more and accessing more of our work. Whether it's a good or bad thing, you need to decide that yourself. Now, what's happening over Google World? Wired reported this week that Google has reshuffled the team behind Project Mariner and that technology has been folded into a broader Gemini agent direction. Even if the browser agents as standalone products do not become the next big mainstream category, the underlying capability obviously does matter because when using agent, it can make your life much easier. Things like browsing, searching, reading, acting, and slowly converging, once again, into a larger agent-type systems. So in other words, the browser may stop being a place you visit and just become more of a general assistant that works across context. And with Google owning Chrome, it'll be interesting to see which way they go with that. Okay, my takeaway for this week, I guess the real AI story is not always a new model, but sometimes it's the quieter shift in where intelligence appears on phones, in file systems, and document tools, wrapping itself around those routine tasks that we always do. And this is important because schools should be watching this, and because as it changes, the adoption will be more effective than what's actually happening at the moment. And for a slightly lighter story this week, there's a wonderful absurdity of school using AI chatbots to question students about their own work, effectively using one AI layer to police another. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Amusing, but also captures the educational moment perfectly. We're just not deciding whether AI belongs in schools. We're all improvising ways we can actually live with it in the system. Anyway, so hopefully this little update is useful. On Wednesday, I'll be comparing some basic tasks and some more advanced tasks between Claude and ChatGPT. And I've already done some of them. The results are quite interesting, and they obviously do have their own strengths. And once again, if you're interested in coming on to have a chat about your AI journey as a teacher, drop me an email. I've got potentially 2 people getting lined up for interviews and a third person who's really against AI. So I'm looking forward to connecting with them and hearing their views and stories. Because like I said, AI is a tool, but once again, it's not a perfect tool. And there's a lot of discussion as educators we need to have around that. So until then, keep up the good work, keep experimenting, and look after yourself.